I still remember the day that invitation arrived in my mailbox. Cream-colored cardstock, embossed gold lettering, the kind of wedding invitation that screams money and status. My hands trembled as I read the names. Marcus Chen and Victoria Ashford request the pleasure of your company at their wedding ceremony. Marcus, my Marcus. Except he wasn't mine anymore, was he? I stood there in my cramped apartment kitchen, the invitation feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. 3 years. It had been 3 years since he walked out of my life. 3 years since he left me with nothing but a shattered heart and a secret I'd carried alone ever since. The thing about Marcus was that he always knew how to hurt me in the most calculated ways. This invitation wasn't an olive branch. It wasn't forgiveness or closure. It was a power move. A final humiliation. He wanted me to see him marrying Victoria Ashford, daughter of the Ashford Hotel's empire. Blonde and perfect and everything I apparently wasn't. But Marcus didn't know about them. He didn't know about Lily, Emma, and Noah, our triplets, his children. When I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after our breakup, I was in shock. We'd been together for 5 years, living together for 2. I thought we were building a future. Then one day, he came home and told me he'd outgrown our relationship, that he needed someone who matched his ambitions, someone from his world, someone who wasn't a struggling graphic designer from a middle-class family. I tried to tell him about the pregnancy. I called, I texted, I even went to his office. But Marcus had already moved on, already started dating Victoria. His assistant told me he didn't want to hear from me, that I needed to respect his new relationship. So I stopped trying. I decided to keep my babies and raise them alone. It wasn't easy. God knows it wasn't easy. My parents helped when they could, but they were retired and on a fixed income. I worked from home, taking on freelance projects during nap time and after bedtime, surviving on coffee and sheer willpower. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, wondering how I'd make it through. But every time I looked at those 3 little faces, I found the strength to keep going. Now they were 2.5 years old. Lily with her serious brown eyes and thoughtful expression. Emma with her infectious laugh and wild curls. Noah with his quiet determination and Marcus's exact same dimples. They were my entire world, and Marcus had no idea they existed. I looked at that invitation again, and something inside me shifted. For 3 years, I'd been invisible. I'd disappeared from our mutual friends' lives, from the social circles we used to share. I'd become a ghost, raising our children in obscurity while he lived his glamorous life, preparing to marry into one of the wealthiest families in the state. But why should I hide? Why should I protect him from the truth? I called my best friend Jasmine, the only person from my old life who'd stuck by me. "Jazz, I got a wedding invitation from Marcus," I said. There was a long pause. "You're kidding me. That absolute—" "I'm going to go," I interrupted. "What? Maya, why would you put yourself through that?" "I'm bringing the kids." Another pause, longer this time. Then Jasmine started laughing. "Oh my God, you're going to tell him?" "I'm going to show him." We spent the next 2 weeks planning. Jasmine helped me find the perfect dress. Nothing too flashy, but elegant and sophisticated. Something that showed I'd done more than just survive. I'd thrived. She also helped me arrange childcare for the ceremony itself. As much as I wanted Marcus to see his children, I wasn't going to disrupt a wedding ceremony. No, I had a different plan. The wedding was held at the Ashford family estate, a sprawling property with manicured gardens and a mansion that looked like it belonged in a period drama. I arrived alone for the ceremony, slipping into a seat in the back. My heart hammered in my chest as I watched Marcus stand at the altar, looking handsome in his tailored tuxedo. Victoria walked down the aisle in a dress that probably cost more than I made in a year. She was beautiful, I had to admit. But as I watched them exchange vows, I felt nothing. No jealousy, no longing, just a quiet sense of purpose. The ceremony ended and guests began moving toward the reception hall. This was it. This was when my plan kicked into action. I walked back to my car where Jasmine was waiting with Lily, Emma, and Noah. They looked adorable in their matching outfits. The girls in soft pink dresses, Noah in a tiny suit that made him look like a miniature businessman. Jasmine had worked magic with their hair, and they looked absolutely perfect. "Ready?" Jasmine asked. I took a deep breath. Ready. The reception was in full swing when we arrived. A band played, champagne flowed, and beautiful people mingled in their designer clothes. I held Noah's hand while Jasmine managed the girls, and we walked in together. We didn't have to wait long. Marcus was making the rounds, Victoria on his arm when he spotted me. I watched the color drain from his face. He said something to Victoria and started walking toward us, his expression shifting from shock to confusion, to something that might have been anger. Maya, what are you doing here? He stopped short when he saw the children. His eyes went wide. Hello, Marcus? I said calmly. Thank you for the invitation. I thought it would be rude not to attend. He stared at the triplets, and I could see his mind working, calculating ages, doing the math. Noah looked up at him with those familiar dimples, and I watched the realization hit Marcus like a physical blow. Are they… He couldn't finish the sentence. Your children? Yes, Lily, Emma, and Noah. They turned 2.5 last month. You were invited to the birthday party, but oh wait, you didn't know they existed, did you? People around us were starting to notice. The music seemed to fade as conversation stopped. I could feel eyes turning toward us. You never told me, Marcus said, his voice strangled. I tried, I replied, keeping my voice steady. I called, I texted, I came to your office, but you were too busy with your new life to take my calls. Your assistant told me to stop contacting you, so I did. Victoria appeared at his side, her smile frozen. Marcus? What's going on? Victoria, this is Maya, I said pleasantly. We were together for 5 years, and these are his children. Your new husband's triplets. Surprise. The reaction was immediate and spectacular. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Victoria's face went from pale to red. Marcus looked like he might be sick. I stood there, calm and composed, while my children, bless them, were more interested in the elaborate ice sculpture nearby. You're lying, Victoria hissed. This is some kind of sick joke. I have birth certificates, I said. Medical records. DNA tests if you want them, though I think the resemblance speaks for itself. I looked at Noah, who had Marcus's exact nose and chin. But really look at them. They're Chen children through and through. Marcus's father appeared, his face thunderous. What is the meaning of this disruption? Hello, Mr. Chen, I said. I'm Maya Rodriguez. We met several times when Marcus and I were together. These are your grandchildren. I watched as Marcus's mother pushed through the crowd, her eyes immediately landing on the triplets. Something in her expression softened, and I knew she saw it too. The unmistakable family resemblance. Marcus, his mother said quietly, is this true? He couldn't speak. He just stood there, opening and closing his mouth like a fish. I didn't come here to ruin your wedding, I said, and I meant it. I came here because you invited me, and I thought it was time to stop hiding. Time for your family to know that you have children. Time for my children to see their father, even if he doesn't deserve them. How much do you want? Victoria's father, Harold Ashford, stepped forward. This is clearly an extortion attempt. I laughed. I couldn't help it. I don't want your money, Mr. Ashford. I've been raising these children on my own for over 2 years. I've managed just fine without the Chen family fortune. I'm a successful freelance designer with a growing client list. I own my own home. Small, but it's ours. My children are healthy, happy, and loved. I don't need anything from you. Then why are you here? Victoria demanded, tears streaming down her carefully made-up face. Because I was invited, I said simply. And because these children deserve to have their existence acknowledged. I won't hide them away like they're something shameful. They're not. They're wonderful, brilliant, beautiful children, and their father should know they exist. Lily tugged on my dress. Mama, I'm thirsty. The simple, innocent request broke the tension. I knelt down, suddenly aware that I'd turned my children into props in this confrontation, and I felt a wave of shame. This wasn't about revenge. This was about them. Let's get you some juice, sweetheart, I said softly. Wait. Marcus finally found his voice. Just wait, please. I stood up, lifting Lily into my arms. Emma clung to Jasmine's leg while Noah continued to stare at the ice sculpture with fascination. I didn't know, Marcus said, and his voice cracked. Maya, I swear I didn't know. You didn't want to know, I corrected. There's a difference. I tried to tell you. You shut me out. I thought you were just trying to get me back, he admitted. After we broke up, I thought any contact was you being unable to let go. So you never once considered that I might have had something important to say? That I might have needed you? I felt the anger rising now, 3 years of suppressed hurt bubbling to the surface. I was pregnant and terrified, and the man I loved, the man I'd planned a future with, wouldn't even take my calls. Marcus's mother approached slowly. May I? She asked, gesturing toward the children. I nodded, and she knelt down in front of them. Hello, she said gently. What are your names? Emma, always the brave one, stepped forward. I'm Emma. That's Lily, and that's Noah. We're triplets. You're beautiful, Marcus's mother said, and I saw tears in her eyes. All three of you are beautiful. She stood up and turned to Marcus with a look that could have melted steel. Your father and I need to speak with you, now. The party was effectively over. Guests were murmuring, taking photos with their phones, and I realized this would be all over social media within the hour. Victoria was crying openly now, her perfect wedding day destroyed. Her parents were having a heated discussion with Marcus's parents. I felt Jasmine touch my arm. Maybe we should go, she said quietly. She was right. I'd made my point. I'd exposed the truth, but suddenly I felt exhausted and slightly sick. I'd used my children to make a statement, and that hadn't been fair to them. Yes, I agreed. Let's go. But as we turned to leave, Marcus caught up with us. Please, Maya, don't go. We need to talk about this. Now you want to talk? I said. Now, after I've crashed your wedding and humiliated you in front of everyone you know? I deserve that, he said. I deserve all of this. But they don't. He gestured to the triplets. They deserve to have a father. A real father, not just a child support check. You think you get to decide that now? I asked. You think you can just walk back into our lives because it's convenient? No, he said. But I'm asking for the chance to try. I'm asking you to let me meet them properly. To let me be their father if you'll allow it. I looked at my children. Noah had finally torn his gaze away from the ice sculpture and was watching Marcus with curious eyes. Lily was sucking her thumb, something she only did when she was tired. Emma was tugging on Jasmine's hand, ready to leave. This conversation isn't over, I said. But it's not happening here, and it's not happening now. My children are tired, and this is your wedding reception. You need to deal with your new wife and both of your families. We'll talk later. Maybe. I gave him my number. I'd changed it after he'd blocked me. And then Jasmine and I left with the children. As we drove away, I looked back at the Ashford estate and wondered what I'd just done. The next few days were chaos. The story went viral. Man discovers triplets at his own wedding made headlines everywhere. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, old friends, curious strangers. I ignored most of it. What mattered was that Marcus called, and we talked. Really talked, for the first time in 3 years. He told me his marriage to Victoria had been annulled. She'd given him an ultimatum. The children, or her. He chose the children. He told me he wanted to be involved in their lives, wanted to co-parent properly. He acknowledged every mistake he'd made, every call he'd ignored, every assumption he'd made about my motives. I didn't forgive him right away. Forgiveness takes time. But I agreed to let him meet the triplets properly, in a controlled environment. I agreed to family counseling and co-parenting classes. I agreed to let him into our lives, cautiously and with strict boundaries. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't about Marcus and me. It wasn't about revenge or vindication or proving a point. It was about 3 incredible children who deserved to know their father, if he was willing to step up and be the dad they needed. Did I regret showing up at that wedding? Sometimes. It wasn't my finest moment, using my children to make a statement, but it also brought everything into the light. No more secrets. No more hiding. No more pretending that Marcus Chen hadn't walked away from the most important responsibility of his life. The triplets are 4 now. Marcus sees them every week. He's not perfect. He still has a lot to learn about being a parent, but he's trying. He pays child support, but more importantly, he shows up. He reads bedtime stories, attends dance recitals, helps with preschool projects. And me? I'm doing better than ever. My design business has grown exponentially, partly from the publicity, partly from actually being good at what I do. I bought a bigger house. I started dating again. I built a life that I'm proud of, with or without Marcus in it. Sometimes people ask me if I regret the way I handled everything. Would I do it differently if I could go back? I look at my children, confident, loved, knowing both their parents, and I think about all the years Marcus missed. The first smiles, the first steps, the first words. He can never get those back. That's his loss, his punishment for walking away. But my children? They get a father who knows they exist. They get a grandmother who spoils them rotten. They get a family, complicated as it is. So no, I don't regret it. I showed up at that wedding with our triplets, and I changed everything. For better or worse, I made sure that Marcus Chen could never again pretend his children didn't exist. And honestly, that was worth every shocked gasp, every viral headline, every awkward family dinner that followed. My children are not a secret anymore. They never should have been.